It's a classic image. A U.S. Navy pilot flying toward the aircraft carrier only to land at full speed on a small runway in the middle of the sea. Taking off and landing on an aircraft carrier is one of the most exciting and challenging experiences for a pilot. But what happens when the arresting cable, the critical safety feature responsible for bringing the aircraft to a stop, breaks? In this video, we'll show you what kind of disaster has already occurred and the consequences of when a pilot cannot land on the flight deck. As an aircraft approaches the runway, the arresting cables come into play. This high-tension steel wire acts as a brake, slowing down the aircraft and bringing it safely to a stop. But in the split-second scenario of a cable break, the stakes are high, and the pilot must rely on their training and expertise to bring the aircraft to a safe stop. When an arresting cable breaks, the aircraft coming in for a landing suddenly loses the ability to stop with the runway rapidly approaching. The pilot must take immediate action to prevent the catastrophic crash in this life-or-death situation. The pilot must use all their training and skill to bring the aircraft to a stop, either by using the backup or resting cables, or by diverting to another runway. The aftermath of a cable break can be devastating. It can result in damage to the aircraft, the carrier deck, and even injury to the crew. The carrier must immediately go into emergency protocols, securing the deck and performing a damage assessment. The broken cable must be repaired as soon as possible, and the carrier must be ready to resume operations as soon as possible. The backup arresting cable is typically located at the end of the runway, and it acts as a backup in case of a cable break. This cable is designed to withstand the same level of tension as the main cable, and is capable of stopping an aircraft in the event of an emergency. However, in some cases, the backup cable may not be enough to bring the aircraft to a safe stop in these situations. The pilot must divert to another runway, or in extreme cases, eject from the aircraft. A U.S. Navy pilot can leave an aircraft in several ways, depending on the specific circumstances of the situation. One common method is ejecting from the aircraft using an ejection seat. Ejection seats are equipped with a rocket motor that propels the seat and the pilot out of the aircraft in the event of an emergency, such as a malfunction or loss of control of the aircraft. Ejection seats typically have a variety of safety features, including a canopy that protects the pilot from wind blast and debris, a parachute that deploys automatically to safely bring the pilot to the ground, and a survival kit that includes supplies and equipment needed to survive in the wilderness. Bailing out requires the pilot to quickly unbuckle their safety harnesses, open the cockpit canopy, and jump out of the aircraft. If the aircraft is on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, the pilot may also have the option of using the ship's rescue and recovery systems, such as a hovering helicopter or a net, to safely evacuate the aircraft. These systems are designed to quickly and safely rescue a pilot in the event of an emergency and are an essential part of the carrier's crew training and equipment. Besides the cable breaking, there are other risks that can happen when landing on an aircraft carrier. Let's take a look. Crosswinds. One of the biggest challenges that pilots face when taking off and landing on a carrier is crosswinds. These winds can gust and change directions in an instant, making it difficult for a pilot to control the aircraft and maintain a safe flight path. This must be able to react quickly to changes in the wind direction and speed, or risk losing control of the aircraft and crashing into the sea engine. Engine failure is a risk that all pilots face, but it's especially dangerous when flying on an aircraft carrier with limited space on the flight deck and risk of falling into the sea. An engine failure during takeoff or landing can have catastrophic consequences. Pilots must be prepared to react quickly and make decisions that will ensure the safety of the aircraft and its crew deck motion. Another risk that pilots face when flying on a carrier is the movement of the flight deck. This can be caused by rough seas, which can make the deck rise and fall suddenly and unpredictably. Pilots must be able to adjust their flight path in real time to compensate for these movements or risk losing control of the aircraft and crashing into the sea. Approach errors. Finally, one of the biggest risks that pilots face when landing on a carrier is the risk of approach errors. This can happen when a pilot misjudges the altitude, speed, or trajectory of the aircraft, or when the aircraft systems fail to function properly. Approach errors can result in a crash landing or even a complete loss of control of the aircraft, putting the crew and the aircraft at risk depending on the situation.